Welcome to these Skype Academy readiness sessions on hybrid and online migration. My name is Cedric de Pape. I am an architect within the Office 365 Center of Excellence. Just a little training disclaimer here. All features and functionality are subject to change in the product, and we do innovate on a constant basis. So new features will be added on this training, and existing features will be updated. By the time you watch this training, it might be different, and for any major changes, new trainings will be created. So if you like to look at the most recent video, please go to the http skypeoperationsframework.com/academy and download the latest training video there, please. This is the January 2017 version of this training. The agenda for this training will be as follows. We'll talk a little bit about Skype Operations Framework, the cloud migration journey, and a hybrid overview on Skype for Business, the Skype for Business hybrid requirements, a little bit about identity with Skype for Business hybrid, the deployment, managing Skype for Business hybrid with Skype for Business control panel, and some troubleshooting. The Skype Operations Framework Cloud Migration. So everybody should know about the Skype Operations Framework now. You know that there are different journey within the Skype Operations Framework. There is Get Deployed. The one we are looking here for the hybrid piece is called Cloud Migration. If you go to the website, the URL that is there at the bottom of the slide, you will find that cloud migration workflow, which is basically a series of activities where you can find either activity description and or assets material to help you through the journey. And at the center of the Skype Operations Framework, we all focus on customer success. The Skype Operations Framework has 3 phases: plan, deliver, and operate. And within each of the phases, you have different stages. The hybrid overview now. So the goal of hybrid is basically to have a shared SIP namespace between on-premises and online. So that's the definition of hybrid Skype for Business. So if we look at the benefits for hybrid, so basically it brings you a gradual transition of users from on-premises to online. So it allows interoperability between on-premises users and online users, and this can be done by site, by user profiles, also called personas, like you find it in the workshop in Skype Operations Framework, by country, or by any other definition you would like to give. It also allows early access to features that are already there in the cloud, but not there yet on premises, because the cloud is fast iterating. So basically, you can bring new experiences to users that you migrate to the cloud. And last but not least, you can leverage Cloud PBX with the on-premises PSTN calling. Basically, you can give telephony capabilities, the Cloud PBX capabilities, to users that you migrate to the cloud with your existing telephony circuit from on-premises when the PSTN calling capabilities are not yet available in the geography you are looking after. So the requirements for hybrid. So in terms of topology, here are the different topologies that are allowed to do hybrid. So basically, you can either have a full Skype for Business Server 2015 deployment on premises, Link Server 2013 deployment, or a Link Server 2010 deployment with the latest cumulative updates. So you have to know that if you have Link Server 2013, you eventually have to have certain roles that are updated to Skype for Business to allow Cloud PBX. And if you have Link Server 2010, it is not supported to have Cloud PBX online. We will see that in a later slide. And you might also have some other features limitation. So depending on the version you have on premises, you will have to deploy a certain level of administrative tools on premises. So if you look at mixed topology, so you can have on premises as well mixed linked server 2013 and Skype for Business Server 2015 deployment. And there you have some specific requirements that you will need one site with Skype for Business Server 2015, at least one enterprise pool or standard edition in this site. Director pool associated with SIP Federation must be as well Skype for Business 2015, even if we basically deprecate the role of the director here. And also the edge pool associated with the SIP Federation. Same for a mix of Link Server 2010 and Skype for Business Server 2015. You need certain roles that needs to be Skype for Business Server 2015. Last but not least, the latest mixed topology that we allow, it's a mix between Link Server 2010 and Link Server 2013. And here again, you need certain roles to be Link Server 2013 like depicted in the list. So when you have Cloud PBX and you want to do Cloud PBX with on-premises PSTN connectivity, so here are the specific requirement, which means that your front-end servers needs to be either Skype for Business Server 2015 or Link Server 2013. The edge server must be Skype for Business Server 2015. And the mediation server can be either Skype for Business Server 2015 or Link Server 2013. So no more on a more generic aspect, the requirements for doing hybrid is you need an Office 365 tenant that must include Skype for Business Online licenses. You need any supported directory synchronization, and it's required to synchronize the user attributes to Office 365. And if in any case you need some single sign-on experience for user authentication, then you will need Azure Active Directory Connect with password sync. And then it will be same credential on premises and online, or use Active Directory Federation Services, ADFS, for true single sign-on. So continuing here, so in order to have hybrid, you need a Skype for Business deployed on premise or the other versions likely we depicted in the previous slides. So basically you will need Skype for Business server with Edge Federation connectivity, and be aware that the high availability and disaster recovery on premises here is quite of crucial, as for hybrid DNS is pointing to on premises for signing in. So if you lose your on premises environment, you will encounter issues for signing in certain circumstances. Now the interoperability with Exchange, so your mailbox for Skype for Business Online user must be in Exchange Online if you want Office Web Apps integration or make use of the meeting migration services. Now for the voicemail with Azure Voicemail, now you can also make use of Exchange on premises. From a networking perspective, be careful that you need your firewalls to be configured to allow connection to Office 365 endpoints, and you need also your perimeter network configuration to allow the edge inbound and outbound traffic like it is for on-premises. And also be careful that you need to pay attention to the network bandwidth consideration, because know that some users are online, they will consume internet capacity, internet bandwidth to go to online when they are on your premises. Coming back to the importance on high availability and disaster recovery on premises when you are doing hybrid, this is the why. So when you look at a client registration for Skype for Business Online, how in a hybrid situation, how does it happen? So basically, your client will make a DNS query, look at the link discover URL that will point him to the on-premises Skype for Business. He will go there and do HTTPS GET command, where basically there will also be an authentication here. We don't give that for anonymously. And then so the Skype for Business on premises will provide the external web services URL to that client. He will do another HTTPS GET command to that external web services, and these external web services will basically redirect now the client online, providing the external web services URL from the online. Then the client will do an HTTPS GET command to the web services online, and that one will provide him his SIP, its SIP address, the SIPDIR fully qualified domain name, and then the client will be able to register using SIP. So if you do a trace analysis here at an HTTP trace analysis, you will find that basically the on-premises web service auto discover endpoint is redirecting to Skype for Business Online web services endpoint. So it corresponds to the step 5 in the previous slide, and basically it's when the Skype for Business client sent an HTTPS GET request to the on-premises external web services URL, and the external web services answer with a redirect to Office 365 web services URL. And you can see that in the picture below. So from a perimeter network, you need basically to combine both requirements, the one from on-premises and the one from the online scenario. So it means from the on-premises environment that you need to open all ports for the on-premises edge server in the perimeter network, meaning, you know, all the normal ports that you have to open for an on-premises deployment. And for online home user, those will need direct access from the internal network to Office 365, and be aware that those ports are sometimes changing. Now we include more UDP port range here for the 3479 to the 3481. And also the forward, or also called web proxy exceptions for online user might be required. So the firewalls openings for hybrid, here it's this table shows from a server to Office 365 perspective. I will not go through the details here. You can find that on TechNet or on the support.office.com website. Please always go to the websites to find the latest information, as those ports may evolve with time. So the second table here shows the client to Office 365. That's the one I was referring to, where the audio, video, and desktop sharing port range, destination port, has been updated lately with 3479, 3480, and 3481 ports. So please go to the website frequently to see if those has been updated and change the table accordingly. So this third table is still for the clients to Office 365. You always see in the first column the purpose of those openings. So please have a look, and I don't go into details here. Now looking at identity for our Skype for Business hybrid. So what we will be looking at here, we'll be looking a high-level overview of the identity context. We'll be covering ADFS and AD Connect. And just be aware that identity is a very specific subject that requires highly skilled people to do it. It's not has to be looked without importance. So what is identity management? What's the definition? So basically identity management deals with both identifying individuals in a system and controlling access to the resources in that system. So it's about authentication, verifying that user, device, or services is who he claims to be, and also provide the right authorization for that entity and give him access to what he needs to have access to. So if you look at the different identity options you have for the cloud, it's basically around, you can have only cloud identity. You can have what we call synchronized identity, and you can have what you call federated identities. So basically, the cloud identity in hybrid, it cannot be done. So you need to at the minimum to synchronize identities. Okay, so basically when you synchronize identity, you can also add what we call password sync to have a similar username and password on premises and online. It has a lower footprint on premises than I would say the highest deployment, which is federated identity. Federated identity provides true single sign-on, will also provide capacity to do multi-factor and other things later. So, and that requires Active Directory Federation services or other supported federation services. So if you look quickly at what looks the topology like when using password sync, so basically you have the online part, which is the same. On premises, you have the edge in the perimeter network, and basically you have this Azure Active Directory Connect tool with password sync enabled. When looking at the same topology for now federated identity, you see that you need in the perimeter network web application proxy, which is basically the former IDFS proxy, and you need an ADFS role in the on-premises part as well. So when looking at user and administrative experience for synchronized identities with password sync, so the user has signed in with one identity. The authentication happens in the cloud or on premises depending on the service. The users have two IDs, but only one username and password combination. From an administrator perspective, if the synchronization happens properly, there is normally nothing to maintain in the cloud for identity. From a federated identities perspective, the user experience is the user signing with his corporate ID. The authentication happens on premises via a claim-based system, and the user have a single credential to provide single sign-on to the on-premises and online services. So the user gets the true single sign-on experience. From an administrator perspective, the administrator manages the password policy on premises only. The password reset is done on premises as well. But it requires additional servers to enable identity federation, so there will be an additional cost. So when looking at the ADFS 3.0 deployment options, so basically you can do that with an ADFS farm with a single server if you are only on premise, but we strongly not recommend that because yeah, if you're creating a single point of failure here. So we do recommend to have an Active Directory Federation Services server farm, which is load balanced, and that's if you only need access from the internal network And if you need access from the external, then you also need to deploy a web application proxy farm, also load balanced, and that will provide access to external user active syncs or other down-level clients. So Azure Active Directory Connect features. So it enables basically a common identities between on-premises and online. It works over the internet. You can start with the express settings setup, which is way enough for generally what you need to do. You can also do custom setup for complex scenario like multi-forest topologies, if you want to do filtering, sign on using other federation tools, Azure AD Premium features, or if you want to also synchronize specific custom attributes. And then the user signings, like we already said, either using the password synchronization feature or federation with Active Directory Federation services. So it supports hybrid features. There is something called Azure Active Directory Connect Health for monitoring, so you can monitor that service, and it can be used to set up ADFS. So there is a possibility in the user interface to set up ADFS through this. So what Azure Active Directory Connect will synchronize? So basically, it will synchronize all users. It will synchronize the mail-enabled contact groups, eventually optionally the computer objects, the conference room migrated as conference rooms. It can sync additional on-premises data like photos for enabling a richer experience. So be aware that not everything syncs by default. You have to choose attributes to limit what is being synced. You can use filtering to limit which objects are synced, and you can use additional features like password sync, which is password hash synchronization, or you can also have password writeback and device writeback. So some common questions about directory synchronization. So it's if after I've implemented directory synchronization, can I still create users directly in the Office 365 environment? Yes, technically it's possible, but it's strongly not recommended to do this. And if I run directory synchronization, will all of my licenses be assigned to the synchronized user? No, this has to be done separately. So if I look now on how to deploy Skype for Business Hybrid. So basically that table shows the different steps that you need to take to configure this. So basically you initially need an Office 365 tenant, and then you need to validate your domain. You cannot do that with the onmicrosoft.com domain, basically. Then you need to have Azure Active Directory Connect configured and synchronize your on-premises Active Directory to the cloud. And then you need to have a user authentication that is in place either through ADFS or through password sync. You need then to have your Link or Skype for Business Edge server deployed with all the, like we said already, the firewall ports opened. You need to enable federation between on-premises and online, creating a new hosting provider for an on-premises environment. And then you need to enable the tenant, the Office 365 tenant for split domain. Okay, in Skype for Business 2015, there is a user interface to do that, or you can do that through online PowerShell and commandlets. So like I said, be careful to have all your networking and firewall configuration in place for both server and clients, and you can use either PowerShell to move users to the cloud or the Skype for Business 2015 control panel. So configuration of Azure Active Directory Connect. So basically in Azure Active Directory Connect, it's basically now a consolidated deployment assistant for all the identity bridge components. So there is the synchronization services, which is formerly directory synchronization, Azure AD Sync, or the FIM, so an Azure AD connector. You have an ADFS component and you have an health component, the health monitoring component. So when you're looking at the express setting for AAD Connect, so basically you can use only one tool instead of many. It's set up and running very quickly, just 4 clicks. And then what we recommend is to start here and then scale up to add options if you need to. And then you can do custom options to address more complex scenario. So, for enabling federation on and tenant split domains, so basically, you first need to configure your on-premises deployment with those commands. So the set CS access edge configuration command, and then the new CS hosting provider command. And then using again remote PowerShell, you need to configure your online tenant for federation configuration with the shared SIP address space true. Or you can do that as well using the new hybrid setup wizard. So when using the control panel and the hybrid wizard, you need to know that your front-end server needs to have internet access to make it happen. Otherwise, it will not work. So looking here, you see from the control panel the tenant ID you are signed in. So the hybrid configuration wizard is there, set up hybrid with Skype for Business Online. So you click here to make it happen. And basically it will make different checks also to see if everything is ready for you to go hybrid. Clicking the next button here. And you see here that by example, one step was forgotten. The federation with Office 365 is not configured. So you need to fix that before being able to go further. And basically then you see that the wizard has configured everything so on premises and online to have hybrid completely configured. So now that you have hybrid configured, you can start moving users. Coming back on the Skype operations framework, when defining the users that you need or you want to move to the cloud, basically you need to refer back to the persona analysis workshop that you have done as part of the Skype operations framework. And basically, when defining who to move, there are eventually key rules to move together, like boss admin or member of the same team, and things like that that you have defined during the persona analysis workshop. Don't forget as well that the readiness and adoption is a key success factor here, certainly when moving from on-premises or from traditional telephony. It's really a key success factor to have good readiness and adoption. Now, when to move users, effectively move users, you need to determine the migration URL, and you need to do that using the following steps. So basically, you need to open a tenant admin center, and basically you will find the URL which looks like this one: https webdir 0a or something similar .online.link.com. Then you need to keep the https fully qualified domain and replace webdir by admin, and then you get a URL similar to this one, and happened then /hosted migration /hosted migration service.svc, and that you get there the final URL. And then for effectively moving users to Skype for Business Online using the remote PowerShell, you need to use the move CS user commandlet, and at the end you have the -hosted migration override URL, which is the URL you just determined with the steps above. You can also do this using the control panel, and don't forget to always create users on premises first and then move them online. So when moving to hybrid, what effectively gets migrated? So you have user data. User data is migrated like contact lists and groups. If your user has his Exchange mailbox online, you can make use of meeting migration services (MMS), and basically the MMS is automatically triggered 10-minute post online migration and is finished within 60 minutes normally. If your user has his mailbox on premises, then you have to use the meeting migration tool that you can download on the following URL. And if you want to know more about the MMS training, you can find that on Skype Academy on aka.ms/sa-mms. What to look after migration. So basically, the online policies are different from the on-premises policies. So you will need to apply the online policies, PSTN conferencing, and Dynamics IDs. So if you are moving from online to on-premises, there are additional steps to look after. So what's the context on moving back a user from online to on-premises? Why you would do this? So basically, exceptionally, you can do that with an online user, requires some specific features that are not yet available online, but are available on premises. What do you have to look after here? The meeting migration services is not triggered. MMS is not triggered, so you need to make use of the meeting migration tool. And also, again, you need to look at the policies that you will need to reapply to the user when he's moved back on premises. So regarding online to on-prem deployment steps, so no, this is the specific case where you had an online environment and now you are creating a hybrid, building the on-premises part. So before pointing back the DNS record on premises, that's a step that you will have to do at a certain moment. For each Skype for Business Online user, with an Active Directory synchronized account, you need to enable them for Skype for Business on premises, and for that you need to run that command enable CS user. And after that you need to run directory synchronization. Now if we look at Active Directory user attributes, this section is there to show step by step how users evolve from online to on-premises in terms of attributes. So in order to be able to find users that are online or on premises need to be aware of online user, which is not the case by default. And so there is an additional steps here to make the on-premise deployment aware of online users. There are several screenshots in the following slides to show the AD attributes, or to show how the AD attributes evolve when doing those steps. So basically, the first slide will show online user online is unknown from on-premises, not yet enabled. Then users online known from on-premises, which is enabled, and what is the user moved back to on-premises. So when looking here, user is not enabled not enabled on premises. You first is synced, and then don't forget that you need to assign him a license. So looking at those specific attributes, the MSRTC SIP deployment locator, primary home server, and MSRTC SIP user enabled value on the on-premises Active Directory. So basically you can find that all of these are not set. So the user is not known on premises right now. So after that, you will just run that enable CS user command line that we showed before. And when you come back and look at the Active Directory, the same attributes for that user, you see now they are populated with the required values. Now, if you're moving back a user to on-premises, so it's moving back online users to on-premises here. Okay, with the move CS user command, you will see that basically these attributes are also populated, but with different values than an online user. You see that the deployment locator is SRV, and that the primary home server is pointing to an on-premises front-end server here. So next section is about managing Skype for Business with the Skype for Business control panel. So in the control panel, you can search for users that have a filter and equal to link on which omt is equal to link online. So basically all the online user, and then you can find a list of all those users, and you can basically do the same using remote PowerShell with the get cs user command pipe, where object is, and basically you need to, the hosting provider is zipfet.online.link.com. Okay. So when looking at the control panel here, you have the link to the Skype for Business Online Admin Center, and looking when you find hybrid user properties, those properties, some of them are manageable through the control panel here. So when you have done a search, you have found your user, and from the control panel here, you can move all or selected user to Skype for Business Online. So don't forget here that to do this, you also need that your front-end server where you are running the control panel needs to have an internet access. Okay, so these are the different steps here. Moving users, and here you get an error. You get an error because when you move the user online, basically when you synchronize the user here, it's a very specific error because you forgot to assign him a license online, and so that's why you get this error here. Okay, and then you have the report saying, yeah, if you were successful, if you were successful with warnings, or if you had errors, which is a specific case here. Okay, then you go to online, you assign you assign the user a license, then you come back here and again move a selected user to Skype for Business Online. Okay, sorry, here is a move to on-prem. Then you define the on-premise server and choose which pool you will allocate the user to. Again, steps. So yeah, say one user will be moved. You want to move the select user, moving users, and you see again here the report saying here you have been successful. One user's moved successfully. Now we will be looking at some troubleshooting scenarios here. So first, be aware, and this is a very good tool to look at, is the call quality dashboard. Be aware that basically you have an online call quality dashboard and you have an on-premises one. And basically, there is very good CQD training series which is available, and you will find a link to the resources at the end of this deck for those training. So the first scenario here we look at is that if you fail to sign in on the Skype for Business control panel. So basically you try to sign into the control panel and you fail. So basically the first scenario here, what can happen is that you need internet access here from the front end, and you don't have internet access. So that can be a reason why you cannot sign in. and this can be traced with service PowerShell, and the admin UI components in the logging tool. Second scenario 1B is again it's still signing failed from the Skype for Business control panel here. You know that your front end has internet access, but the sign-in still fails with a PowerShell error. So basically, you find this error when RM cannot complete the operation. You need to verify that the specified computer name is valid, extra. So this is happening when basically you have a proxy server with authentication in place from the front-end server. And for this, to solve this, you need to create an exception on the proxy server, like it's depicted in the following URL. Another frequent error that you can find with hybrid is we cannot route from and to domains error, like the following zip trace here showing this error. And basically, when the tracing shows cannot route from and to domains, um, you need to, probably it's hybrid is not enabled, so you need to issue the command for the tenant's federation configuration with the shared SIP address is true. So this tenant-wide setting, it's a tenant-wide setting, sorry, and it's for all SIP domains. So so basically, when you are doing hybrid, you need to support exactly the same SIP domain list for both on-premises and online. So another scenario is the move user which is failing from on-premises to online. So basically you have an on-premises user with the domain which is domain A. So his on-premises SIP domain, the on-premises SIP domains are domain A and domain B, and the online SIP domains are domain B and subdomain dot domain B. So basically you see here that there is a discrepancy between the on-premises and the online SIP domains. So the domain A does not exist here online. And what will happen is that the directory synchronization tool will update the SIP address attribute in online to domain a.onmicrosoft.com. And so basically there is a mismatch between on-premises and online. So how to solve this before moving users, you need to change the SIP address domain and issue DRSing again. So in summary, so what are the key learnings here? The key learnings is so basically the Skype for Business Hybrid offers you the highest flexibility in moving online, having some users online that you want to test some new functionalities with, and keeping other users on premises that you want to keep their existing features. So also, so we have seen here that Skype for Business Hybrid has well-defined requirements, and so basically, when doing hybrid, you need to take care of a few things to be sure you are successful, like firewall openings, proxy. You need all of these in place to be successful. There are a few steps as well that are required. So the Skype operations framework is cloud migration journey is important here, and so it includes the customer journey for cloud migration, and basically you have to do things in the right sequence. Okay, so there is a sequence to do things, and doing one thing before the other might cause issues. So that's also one of the key learnings here. So looking now at resources that you can find. So basically the Skype operations framework cloud migration, where you have the URL here. So look at the trainings, and the latest version of this training will be always be available on the Skype operations framework.com/academy. You have everything related to the meeting migration services on the aka.ms/sa-mms URL, and I talked about the call quality dashboard training series, which are available on aka.ms/sof-cqd. Also, other resources, community and blog around Skype operations framework. So please go to aka.ms/soft-community, and you can have discussions there, ask and provide feedback. There is also a blog on Skype operations framework, where you can receive the latest updates about training releases, and this is available on aka.ms/sof-blog.